Now let's look at the 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. Notice, still have a right angle, but one of the acute angles is 30 degrees and one of the other acute angle is 60 degrees. Of course, that adds up to 180 degrees. We always call the side across from the smallest angle the short leg. So the short leg, notice, has the smallest number, 1. Then, of course, the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. The hypotenuse is double 2 times the short leg. Then across from the 60-degree angle, this is called the long leg, and it is times square root of 3. So for example, if we remember, like we did in the 45, 45, 90 triangle, looking across the triangle from the 30 degrees, this is 1, the hypotenuse is 2, and the long leg, square root of 3, we can find the missing sides quite easily. From the short leg, we multiply by 2 to get to the hypotenuse. 14 times 2 is 28. To get from the short leg to the long leg, we multiply by square root of 3. 14 times square root of 3. And that's it. We're done. Now we could also do this by using ratios like we did in the 45, 45, 90 special triangles. Let's see how. I notice a 30-degree angle, therefore, and a 90. Therefore, the other acute angle is 60 degrees. We have our 30, 60, 90 right triangle. I'm going to look across from the 30 degrees, and that's where I put the 1. The hypotenuse is 2, and the long leg is square root of 3. We write them on the inside so that we remember it's not the lengths, it's just the ratios of the corresponding side lengths. So now I'm looking for a short leg. I'm going to call that X. And the long leg, which is not the same, so I'm going to call that Y. And now we'll set up our proportions. Let's find X first. Inside over outside. So remember that. Inside number over outside number. Maybe you write that again and highlight that and make a note that that is very important. So inside number over outside number equals inside number over outside number, 2 over 14. We can't use the y yet because we don't know that side. We're going to use a side that we know. Now we can cross multiply. 2 times x is 2x equals 1 times 14 is 14. Divide both sides by 2 and x equals 7. This side, 7. Done. Now let's do the side for y. Again, inside number over outside number. Square root of 3 over y equals 2 over 14. Inside number over outside number. And now we can cross multiply. 2 times y equals 14 times square root of 3. Divide both sides by 2, and y equals 2 can divide into 14 because they're both outside the radical. 2 goes into 14 7 times for 7 square roots of 3. And there we have it. We found the missing side lengths. Notice the short leg is 7. The hypotenuse is double of 7, 7 times 2, which is 14, and the long leg is the short leg times square root of 3, 7 square roots of 3. Easy peasy. Let's take a look at another one. 30, 60, 90 triangle. I start at the 30, I look across, that's the 1. The hypotenuse, 2, and the long leg, square roots of 3. Show it on the inside. Let's label the missing sides. Starting with the short leg, we can call it X, and the hypotenuse is also missing. We can call it Y. And now let's set up our proportions. To find X, inside number over outside number. 1 over X equals inside number over outside number, square root of 3 over 8 square root of 3. Now remember, it's nice to simplify first if we can, and the square roots of 3 cross out. That leaves us with 1 up here, and when we cross multiply, we get x times 1 is x, and 8 times 1 is 8. So x is 8. Now let's set up a proportion for y. Inside number over outside number. 2 over y equals inside number over outside number, square root of 3 over 8 square roots of 3. Again, we're dividing by the same number, so those cross out. And y times 1 is y, and 8 times 2 is 16, so y equals 16. Done. Last one. Again, 30, 60, 90. I'm missing the short leg, I'll call it x. I'm missing the hypotenuse, I'll call it y. Let's start by labeling the insides for the ratios. Here's the 30, across 1, hypotenuse 2, long leg square root of 3. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's set up our proportion. Inside number over outside number equals inside number over outside number. And now we can cross multiply. Square root of 3 times x, or x times the square root of 3, equals 1 times 15. Oops, that's just 15, of course. And then I can divide both sides by square root of 3. And x equals 15 over square root of 3. Now I could rationalize that by multiplying the denominator and the numerator by square root of 3, or I could leave it like that, depending on what's required. So I could also take out my calculator if I needed to at this point. If I multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3, that makes 3, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So we could also write this as 5 square roots of 3. Let's make a proportion for y. Inside number over outside number equals inside number over outside number. And we can cross multiply. Y times square root of 3 equals 2 times 15, which is 30. Divide both sides by square root of 3, and y equals 30 over square root of 3. Again, at this point, I could take out my calculator if I needed the decimal, or I could rationalize it. Multiply denominator and numerator by square roots of 3, because then that makes 3. 3 goes into 30 10 times, so another way to write this is 10 square roots of 3. I hope you have fun with the shortcuts. Thanks for